Dear colleague, dear organization committee, first of all, I would like to thank you for your invite. My presentation is about amphora production and imitation in Cilicia. Cilicia region, which is divided as Cilicia Trachea and Cilicia Pedias, has been a settlement throughout the history and a direct section and connection point between the east and west. With its strategic position and sheltered situation among East and West Mediterranean, Egypt, Aegean and Cyprus, Cilicia region has been a junction point that agriculture wished to acquire. Cilicia's historical evolution in the Hellenistic period is a result of the politics that was applied in the region and conflicts on one hand between Seleucus and Ptolemaios, and on the other hand, Alba and Prate ruling that tricked the central and local powers. By the second half of the 2nd century BC, Rhodian had lost its hegemony in Mediterranean, and Roman showed its presence in handling the Prates that threatened the sea traffic, which flourished with the sea trade. Soon after, the Emperor Domitianus limited the viticulture and settled the East Mediterranean as the vineyard region of the Roman Empire. Cilicia still boomed in wine production. The variety of amphoras produced in the region, the excess of the goods traded and increasing investment in agriculture provided that situation. In 67 BC, after Pompeius cleared the Mediterranean shores of Thrace, cities of the region began to develop in interdependence and economy. Cilicia region had been important in the eastern politics of the Roman Empire with its strategic situation, goods like timber and oil, and also its socioeconomy. In the Pax Romana period, the wine production in Cilicia was recognized and the region's famous sweet wine types were presented to the markets in the different forms of amphoras. The region, which had been given to reign on Commagene king Antiochus IV, was annexed to the Roman Empire in 72-74 by the Emperor Vespasianus. From the 3rd century BC on, the trade between West Mediterranean, Aegean islands like Rhodian, Cnidian coast, and Egypt, Cyprus, East Mediterranean, Black Sea region cities had increased. As a result, amphora production began to gain regional characteristics. In the Roman Republic period, the Mediterranean settlements increased the amphora production and developed their own forms for the local product trade. Amphora Dressal 1, 4, 2M4, 38, Zemar 41, Pompeii 5, most of which began to produce in the Roman Republic period, showed typical form characteristics had existed in trade life for a long time throughout the Roman Empire in Italy, Spain, Cilicia, East and West Mediterranean regions. Over time, in some part of the region, the amphoras of Mediterranean in which luxury products were carried began to be imitated and sold as their own product. Rhodian and Cnidian wines, which were preferred by the Greek colonial cities and other after the 6th century BC, kept their economic superiority until the 1st century AD, and the Roman wines started to dominate the markets. Dressal form had been produced in Kos Island, which had an important place in the trade life between the 2nd and 4th century BC, and was acquired by many other neighboring sites. It spread from Cilicia to Egypt and from there to Gallia and all over the vital parts of Mediterranean basin. Especially in 2nd and 1st century BC, the imitation of the coast amphoras Dressal 2M4 with thin membrane and beefed handles had begun to produce in Cyprus, Black Sea, Italy, Spain, France, England and Cilicia. Amphoras that had been used for carrying wine and olive oil, later used in line with the needs, became to used for carrying seafoods, fruit and spices, especially for the feeding of military garrisons. One of the most important important cities that give information about the Cilicia region amphora production is Eleusa Sebaste. I will try to show the Cilicia region's production and imitation amphoras form with Sebaste examples. Eleusa Sebaste is located with the borders of Cilicia Trachea, had been a part of an intense trade in the Eastern Mediterranean between the 2nd century BC and the 7th century AD, with its location on the east coast of Mediterranean Sea, being on the coastal trade road and having rich natural and agricultural sources. The preliminary study of various ceramics and amphoras found in Eleusa Sebaste excavations gives us clues about the late Roman period and late Roman and early Byzantine periods trade system and the existence of the different production areas in Eastern Mediterranean. Many of the amphora remains of 1st to 3rd century AD found in Eleusa are local production. Agora M54, Zemar 41 and Pompeii 5 forms constitute the larger part of the remains. You can see the necropolis and also Byzantine's palace and the domestic and handcraft quarter. And this is the kilns which we found in Eleusa. We have the 6 kilns. Detail. Yes. It's told that different forms and capacity of the amphora were produced to carry different types and quality of wines of Cilicia. Local production were exported from Athens Agora to longer distances like Pompeii, Rome, Alexandria and Brenica in the Roman Empire period. Zemar 41 Agora Zamar 41 and Agora M54 amphoras found in India corrected as a proof transit trade to India. Agora M54 and Pompeii 5 amphoras have been highly exported to Egypt. It has been revealed that, like the Dressal 4 amphora, Agora M54 was also produced in Yumurtalık in Cilicia. Many amphoras pieces found in Eleusa Sebaste leads us to think this form was also produced in Sebaste. The production center in Cilicia Trachea region of Zemar 41 has been detected as Anamurium, Severa and Bıçkıcı around Alanya, and Antioch at Frome has been specified a 3rd production place. This one, Agora 54. And also the Zemar 41. Another Cilicia region product, Pompeii 5 amphora, was put into the Mediterranean market from the 1st century AD. It has been relieved with the survey in Cilicia region that it had been produced in Aegea, city near the Yumurtalık. And also another Cilicia product, Dressal 2 and 4 amphoras, have been called as Dressal 2 and 4 group by the researchers at the number 2, 3 and 4 forms in the typological table designed by Dressal example. And this one, Dressal 2 and 4. Imitation products have been studied under the Dressal 2 and 4 or Dressal 4 title in many sources. Another suggestion is that it was make each producing city have its own shape. Dressal 2 and 4 form had been imitated by many settlements since it was light, carried more wine because of its shape, and was more confident than the coarse, heavy and bulky amphoras of the previous periods. It has been revealed to be produced in Yumurtalık, Aegea, Tarsus, Bıçkıcı, Severa of Cilicia region. Dressal 2 and 4 amphoras, which are thought to be produced in Cilicia coast between the 1st century BC and 1st century AD, had even reached to India. The form is one of the most important wine amphoras of West Mediterranean in the early Empire period. In the Eleusa Sebaste excavation, many Dressal 2 and 4 amphoras are of different form and clay characteristics have been found. There are still some groups whose origin hasn't been detected, while some of the other types are classified in view of their clay characteristics. A similar one of the ES5 sample has been detected in Carthage in 1st century AD, and it's suggested to be coast or thereabouts imitation with the possibility of origin from the east of the East Mediterranean. ES6 differs from the other Dressa 2 and 4 remains in view of its form and clay pattern. You can see the type of Dressa 2 and 4. This is the production in the coast. And also this is the Sebaste findings. A similar forms has been found among the amphora pieces in the Cilicia region surface, led by Frome in Alanya Gazi Pasha Bıçkıcı field. Considering the clay pattern, color, and similar amphora pieces, it's estimated that this form had been produced in Bıçkıcı, especially this type. Analogical evolutions show that the form, which is thought to have been produced in Bıçkıcı of Cilicia region, has regional similarities, and it's concluded that those similarities are of the composition of a few forms of the Roman period. The bottom part of the ES6C, this one the Bıçkıcı, this one 6C, amphora resembles the Zemak 41 amphora of the region. The same samples of ES7, which is quite different from the Dressa 2 and 4 amphoras in view of their form and clay pattern, have not been deducted in other settlements. This one, ES7. It's seen that the settlement where Dressa 2 and 4 amphoras are found, imitation amphoras can show regional specification and have properties out of standards. In the excavation and survey done in the Cilicia trachea, it's understood that the imitation of Galash forms, Tripolitan and Tunisian amphoras were done using the local clay. It's estimated that Tripolitan amphoras, which show different stone specification found in Egypt, to be brought from Cilicia trachea coasts. The local imitations of Gallia forms and Dressa 2 and 4 amphoras have also been found in Eleusis Sebaste. The amphora forms produced in the region have been seen in many markets from Italy to North Africa. Although a kiln in Eleusis Sebaste from Roman period hasn't been revelated, especially local production of Agora M54 and Pompeii 5 forms are thought to be produced here. Dressa 2 and 4 forms found in Sebaste must be the imitation production first produced in Kos Island with bifid handles and have similarities with the other amphoras produced in the same period nearby. Sebaste findings, which show great differences from the other imitation producers, Italy, Spain, Egypt and Africa, seem to be affected from the different amphoras forms of the same period. All the imitation amphoras seen in the city reveal that popular amphoras imitations were produced in other settlements. The typological and the morphological study of the standard and imitation forms of amphoras has revealed that amphoras had been widespread forms throughout the empire in especially Roman period. In all overall look at the stees where excavation is done, it's seen that some amphora forms are found in quite high quantities in many different regions. Main reason for that is the region's surplus of products. Some regions olive oil and wine products, whereas luxury consuming products. The demand for these products depends on their irregular dispersing, food crisis or surplus in the Mediterranean basin, the landlords and workers' population density and the high quality product of some regions. These standard productions, which began in the early 1st century AD, coincided with the Bright period when higher population lived in cities. The dispersion of the amphoras gives clue about the different volumes of the production and trade. 3 seems continuity between the local production and export amphoras. The production and shaping techniques used to produce similar forms in the city and the rural workshop in rush trade periods have led to the existence of many different numbers and type of forms. This situation resulted in the differences between the amphoras in one region to another of the same era. In some settlements, the amphoras in which the luxury goods of Mediterranean markets are carried are imitated to sell their own products. Many proofs have been gathered about the existence of the local production amphoras in almost every settlement all along the Mediterranean coast, whose similar samples in view of typology and analogy couldn't be found. The geological variety of the Mediterranean region, each production region's unique clay pattern and mineralogical specifications explain the different clay pattern of the same form. One way to resolve the typological and origin ambiguity is to make detailed archaeometric studies on the samples taken from the production and consumption sites and sunken finds. The only way to understand the imitation products is to make clay and dough analyses. In order to fully understand the export-import of Cilicia region and so Eloise Sebaste, detailed reports of South Anatolia ceramics finding and clay analysis of the Cilicia production amphora forms that are found in other regions should be presented. Thank you for your attention.